Hi there, and welcome to the customization studio for March. So normally these videos are so I can take one of our main templates, one of the minimally designed templates, and customize it. And you can kind of see how I would recreate it for my audience. And then of course I'll also give you a copy of the one that I recreate. So if you want a done for you product that you can just list right away in your shop, you have it ready. But this month, I'm going to show you some of the bonus templates and discuss some of the design choices I made there. And then we might talk a little bit about my plans for the main templates. I do want to start out by saying that your lemonade stand planner is a little more designed than we normally want our main templates to be. And occasionally you're going to see this because when something is very heavily themed, it's a very tight niche product, sometimes I feel like it needs to have more graphics and design in order to give it direction. I feel like it would be really strange, for instance, to give you these customer cards that are in here, to give you like these customer thank you cards with no design elements, to just have thank you for shopping my lemonade stand and leave it at that. It would just be odd. So in these cases, you're gonna see a little more design going on. And you can certainly use this one as is and send it out to your audience, and I think it'll be just fine. I may add a little more graphics if I were you in here, throw in some lemons, a glass of lemonade, that kind of thing onto these basic worksheets. But these pages over here could be just fine being sold as is. So that's totally up to you. But I did want to explain why these are less minimalistically designed than normal. The worksheets, I did try to keep them a little more basic, but I do try to not do a bunch of like funky layers and things like that are difficult. Now, if you ever run into anything in one of these templates where you just can't figure out how to change it in Canva, feel free to send me an email, because sometimes when we've been using a platform a long time, we don't know what other people may find difficult or what they may not know right off the bat. So please just reach out. I know a couple of times I've had people reach out and ask me about using like the effects, for instance. Let me show you an example. So right here on Lemonade Stand, this was actually created using the effects. So it uses an outline. And I know I've had a few people reach out. So things like that, absolutely just send me an email. Now, this month's bonus templates, and let me back up for a second. Our bonus templates usually aren't minimalistically designed. I intentionally create those a little more ready to go, and that's because I want you to have a quick win. So if you haven't emailed your list in a while and you want to send them a freebie, or you want to put something up on Pinterest real quick to build your list and opt in, you're ready to go. You don't have to do anything. Now, this month's bonus templates are very tightly related to our main templates, especially the lemonade stand ones. So over here you've got, let's see, the flyers. So these flyers are the kind that you would put maybe in your grocery store if it has a bulletin board, or in your dry cleaners, or maybe someone that has a business, or you have telephone poles where you live. A lot of times people connect these kind of signs to that, and it has the little tear strip. So I thought that was really cute. So we have this in both the lemonade stand version, and then over here we have the garage sale version. Now, I have to tell you one thing I just noticed as I started this video. I actually had to redo it because, dogs. But anyway, I noticed that the garage sale images, I had used Canva Pro images. Usually when I'm designing these, or always actually, whenever I'm designing these for you, I work in Canva Pro. Then a lot of times whenever we do these videos, I switch over to a secondary account, a free Canva account that I have. And I do that to keep it really separate, to make it easy when I'm doing the video, but also so I catch mistakes like this. So I'm going to go back in after the video and try to change these images. If you've already accessed these, I'm just going to apologize for that. If you don't have Canva Pro, you're going to probably want to either switch it out yourself, it's not that hard, or go over and grab the link again from the dashboard. But so I made these for the garage sale, which is kind of related to the summer side hustle, because that is one of the categories, one of the sections in there. And so we made 2 of those. Now, I also created a couple of social templates. Now, one thing you could do, we talked about using these as opt-ins or freebies for your audience. If you wanted to really beef it up and make it not just a $1 or $2 product, if you wanted a mini product, that's great. But if you wanted to make it something more substantial, you could go and add 10 more social templates and have a whole set, or 8 more and have a set of 10, something like that. So you could beef this up if you wanted. But again, that's totally up to you. Now, in this one, I kept all of the same fonts and color palette as in the main planner. So if we go up here, it's the same. And then the final mini template that you received are these thank you recipe cards. Now, I know that you already have the thank you cards that came inside the template. Again, if you're using these in opt-in, I really don't think it's a big deal that there's kind of a similar product over in the planner. But you could also change this. Instead of it saying thanks for visiting, it could be something totally different. It could be come see us at our lemonade stand, and maybe the kids go out and hand it out in the neighborhood. I don't know. You can get creative with that. You could also create, 8 more again and have cookie recipes or have whatever and call it a summer recipe collection. But I just thought this was a really cute thing for the kids to have. And certainly they could really have this along with the thank you cards. I don't think one negates the other. But at any rate, so whenever you look at these, you're going to see that I'm using the same fonts that I used over here in the template. We had Baloo, Nunito, and Feel Free Playful. Now, whenever it comes to the garage sale flyers, I did not use the exact same fonts as we used over in the planner. And the reason for that is, especially with the signs, I wanted to create something that was really usable for our customers. And I felt like this bold, I don't think I can try to say that, this bold, I guess Zume, rough bold, was a nice standout option. So I kind of deviated. Plus, because this is garage sale flyers, I feel like you could sell this completely separate. You may want it to be totally unrelated to the summer side hustle planner. Now, you could take these garage sale flyers and the garage sale social templates, kind of like we discussed with the lemonade stand, add a couple more of each, and you could have a whole garage sale bundle. In fact, something else you could do is, let's see, you could take these declutter and sell checklist, the items to sell, the garage sale planner, and the garage sale pricing guide, just those 4, and kind of make a mini workbook or mini worksheet pack and pair it with these and just have a garage sale set. And we're going into summer, which is a perfect time to create something like that and sell it. And again, I'm going to go through and change all these images so that you don't have to swap them out. Let's see. Now over here on the side hustle planner, it is definitely our minimalist aesthetic. So you may want to go and add more to it, a lot more. That's kind of up to you. Let's see, I'll just take a few minutes. I don't want this video to be super long since I was a little late in sending it. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this as I usually do whenever I'm testing out ideas. So let's see, I'm going to take one of these. These are all the papers that you received, and we have these beautiful graphics that Amy created this month. I like that. So I'm just going to replace the background. I'm going to, that was a semi-transparent block here, so I'm going to make it not so transparent. I think, let's see, I want that to match the colors in the plaid. So I'm just going to go over here. I want something kind of light. I don't want it to be super intense, but I want it in that yellow. Yeah, I like that. And then I want this. This right here is what's going to change these lines that are around the top and the bottom. This is really a square. I just brought it out from the edges so you don't see the left and the right border. Let's see. I want that to be a little more intense. I'm going to take this and I'm going to make that the same color. Now, I chose to use these lemons so that they were kind of connected to the lemonade stand. You may not sell them together, although you certainly could. You could have it like a family side hustle bundle and have the summer side hustle planner for the grown-ups, the lemonade stand planner for the kiddos, and then all the accessory templates. You could do that. But if you did that, I'd want to keep all the design elements somewhat coordinating, somewhat cohesive, if not necessarily identical, but where they're in the kind of the same family. But right now I'm just going to be looking at this summer side hustle as if it's going to be on its own. You know what? What if we did this? Oh, I like that. Now I would probably, I don't know if I would keep the lemons there or not. I like the lemons because I feel like they're more of a neutral aesthetic. I don't necessarily think that, kind of like putting a floral, you know, I just think it's decorative. I don't necessarily think it ties super into the summer side hustle planner unless you're selling it with a lemonade stand. But I also don't think it's odd to have the lemon motif. I think it is just a design aesthetic. But I may just take this out. I'm gonna have to play around with that. I don't know if I like the change on there or not. I think that might be just a little bit too much. So let me I'm gonna move this down just a little bit. Okay. Yeah, I think I really like that just like that. So that's probably what I'm going to do for my cover for the version I'm creating. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and jazz these up just a teeny bit on my own. What I'm probably going to do is replace a lot of the like yellow lines that we have in here with this coral color just to make it cohesive with the cover. I'm going to keep the fonts the same. Now, this actually brings up an interesting point. Inside of the Facebook group last week, somebody was talking about how long it takes them to customize their PLR. And I want to say they either said 5 or 7 hours. I can't remember which one it was for a planner that they were recreating. And they asked if that was too long. And pretty much the general consensus, and definitely my response, was that yes, that is too long. Because your PLR should work for you. You're getting it to save you time. And if you're spending 5 to 7 hours recreating it, then really you should just create from scratch, because then you have full rights to it. You can do whatever you want to it. You may even be quicker at it because you're creating from the ground up. But of course, ideally, since you're in this membership, you would just start learning to customize quicker. And I think sometimes we put so much pressure on ourselves to change everything, and we start rethinking it and doubting ourselves, and we start changing things and changing them back, and we just make it much harder than it should be. If we're talking bare minimum that needs to be changed on a product, and I've discussed this in other videos, so I apologize for the repetition, but what I would do is give it a new cover, just like this. I may or may not change the fonts. In this case, I like that font, but just to give it a new look, I might do that. But because this cover is so different, I feel okay keeping that font there. And then I would probably just go through and on this one, because it's so minimalistically designed, it's a little easier to customize, but I may change that green to the yellow or something like that. But you can keep your changes really simple. Because most of the time, most of us, not all of us, but most of us are buying PLR because we want to stock our shop. And we want to customize it because, well, some of you want to customize it because Etsy technically requires that you have unique designs before you list it. And then some of you just don't want to have products that look like other people's, and that's okay. Now, I'll be perfectly honest. In my B2C shop, it is not on Etsy, so that gives me a lot more freedom to list things that haven't been customized if I want. There are times where I'm okay putting something in my shop that hasn't been heavily customized. I don't feel any shame about using a product that I purchased and reselling it. A lot of times I think it's nicer if you can maybe bundle it with other things or whatever, but I don't really have any shame about listing something as is in my shop, because it's definitely different. When you go to Etsy and someone searches for it and 10 different planners show up with the exact same cover, that is weird. It does feel strange. And in fact, I remember when I first started shopping on Etsy a few years back, I was very puzzled by the fact that I would find so many things like shirt. I'm trying to think some of the things I was searching for at the time, but they would all come up and they would be identical. And it made me it seemed sketchy because I knew that it was supposed to be customized things. I didn't really know about the terms of service of Etsy or any of that, but it did make me question, like, why are all of these products the exact same? So it is a little harder on Etsy to feel good selling the exact same product. The other thing is, even if you felt good about it, you're basically competing based on price then. They're going to look for the cheapest price. So that gets a little tricky. But if you're selling in your own shop, I wouldn't feel bad about making the most basic changes. Now, that said, if you're selling in a marketplace like Etsy, let's definitely change the cover, add some different images in there, change the backgrounds like on these, but you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You just need it to look different. And your mock-up is going to look a lot different too, because your listing images are going to have this totally different cover. And then you might have in your page spreads pages, but they have a different font or they have a different whatever it is. So it's not going to be screaming at people that it's the exact same. Now, the other thing to remember is that usually when people search on Etsy and they pull up a page of results, they're noticing that mock-up. So for instance, like I said, with the cover is usually the hero image on your listing, right? So that's the one that those customers are going to see first. So that does stand out like a sore thumb if it looks like everyone else. So when you change that cover and it's your lead image, it really does reduce that feeling of, I've seen this in other listings. So you can get away with changing the interior a lot less. Now, again, if you just want to customize something from scratch and make it yours, that's great. You can change everything if you want. But at least initially, sometimes getting used to just making those minor changes can get you adept enough at going quickly that then as you get more experience using Canva and customizing and all of that good stuff, it becomes quicker to make more sweeping changes. So I'm going to keep going through this, making some more changes. And of course, in your monthly recap, I will share my customized version with you. And if you have any questions about any of the other products, let me know. And that's it for this video.